A single roar shattered the silence of the forest, and in that moment, my life changed forever. Stay with me, because this story isn't just about danger, it's about what came after. My name is Emily, and I never thought a walk in the woods would end with me face to face with a raging bear. Just when I thought it was over, he appeared, a hunter, tall, strong, fearless. He stood between me and the beast, and with one thunderous shot, he saved my life. I should have been terrified, but when his eyes met mine, all I felt was the beginning of something I couldn't yet explain. His voice was low and steady as he told me it was safe now, but my knees still trembled, and before I could stop myself I leaned into him, his arm catching me with surprising gentleness for a man who had just faced down a bear. The smell of pine and gunpowder clung to him, grounding me in a way that made my heart race even more. He looked down at me, his eyes dark and intense, and whispered that I shouldn't be in these woods alone. I tried to laugh, to brush it off, but the sound died in my throat when his hand lingered at my waist, steadying me, keeping me close. The forest was quiet again, but inside me there was only storm, a storm he had started the moment he stepped out of the shadows and into my life. We started walking back toward the trail, his hand never leaving the small of my back as if the danger might return at any second. Every step made me more aware of the strength in his presence. The way his body moved with a controlled power that spoke of years in the wilderness. He asked softly if I was hurt, his voice rough but carrying an undertone of concern that melted through me. I shook my head, whispering that I was fine, though my pulse betrayed me. He stopped then, turning me to face him, his eyes searching mine as though needing proof. His thumb brushed a stray lock of hair from my face, slow and deliberate, and in that charged silence the forest seemed to hold its breath, as if it too waited for what would happen next. His gaze lingered on me, dark and unshakable, and I felt the heat rush to my cheeks under the weight of it. The forest around us was alive with the whisper of leaves and the faint crackle of branches, yet all I could hear was the pounding of my heart. His hand still rested near my cheek, calloused but gentle, and when he finally spoke his words came low, almost a growl, that I had no idea how close I had come to being lost, that he wouldn't let that happen, not while he was there. My breath caught, the air between us charged with something far stronger than fear, and when I whispered his name it trembled in the quiet. He leaned closer, his lips brushing mine for the briefest second, not quite a kiss but enough to set fire to the space between us. The brush of his lips left me trembling, and for a moment neither of us moved, caught between caution and a pull too strong to fight. His hand slid lower to steady me by the waist, drawing me closer until I could feel the solid warmth of his chest against mine. The forest seemed to fade away, the silence broken only by the rough edge of his breathing and my own uneven gasp. He whispered that danger was gone, but I was still shaking, and maybe the only way to calm me was this. His mouth found mine again, deeper this time, unhurried but certain, and I melted into him, clutching his shirt as though he was the only thing keeping me upright. The hunter who had saved me from a beast now holding me like I was something just as wild and untamed. His kiss deepened, tasting of smoke and pine, and the world around us blurred until there was nothing but the steady strength of his arms. His hand moved up my back, firm and protective, while the other lingered at my waist as if he couldn't bear to let go. I felt the roughness of his stubble brush my cheek, a stark reminder of how raw and real he was. My pulse raced faster than the moment the bear appeared, yet now it wasn't fear but something hotter, fiercer, when he pulled back just slightly. His eyes locked on mine, burning. He whispered that I didn't realize what I had awakened in him, and the truth was I didn't know what he had awakened in me either. Only that I didn't want the fire between us to fade. His words hung heavy in the air, and I couldn't look away, the intensity in his eyes pinning me as surely as his hands did at my waist. The forest was still, the trees towering around us like silent witnesses. His breath brushed across my lips as he leaned in again, slower this time, as though savoring the inevitability of it. When his mouth claimed mine once more, I felt the strength of a man who had just faced death and won, but also the tenderness of someone who was afraid to break what he held. I curled my fingers into his shirt, pulling him closer, and his answering growl rumbled low in his chest, the sound vibrating through me until I was trembling not with fear, but with a hunger I had never known before. He pressed me back against the rough bark of a pine, shielding me with his body as though the forest itself might try to take me away. His hand slid along my side, strong yet careful, holding me in place while his lips explored mine with a hunger that left me breathless. Every brush of his mouth sent sparks racing through me, every touch a reminder that he had pulled me from the edge of death and now claimed me with the same fierce certainty. His voice came low, ragged between kisses, saying he hadn't meant for this to happen, but the moment he saw me, trembling and helpless, something inside him snapped. I whispered his name, and he silenced me with another kiss, deeper, slower, a promise and a danger all at once. And in that moment the world beyond the trees ceased to exist. His chest rose and fell against mine, each breath rough, uneven, as though he was still coming down from the battle with the beast, yet his grip on me only tightened, not from fear but from need. His hand slid up to cradle the back of my neck, his thumb brushing my skin with surprising tenderness for such a rugged man. I felt caged between the strength of his body and the solid tree behind me, but instead of fear there was only heat, a wild rush that made my pulse race faster than before. His lips trailed from my mouth to my jaw, down to the hollow of my throat, and every touch made me shiver. He murmured that he should let go, that he knew he should step back, but his mouth and his hands betrayed his words, holding me tighter, drawing me deeper into the fire that had already consumed us both. I clung to him, my fingers gripping the fabric of his shirt as though letting go would send me crashing back into fear. His breath was hot against my skin, uneven, laced with the same storm I felt inside. The forest seemed to pulse with our heartbeats, each second stretching longer as his mouth moved slowly along my neck, his hands spread wide at my waist, pulling me closer, anchoring me to him. He whispered hoarsely that when he saw the bear ready to strike, something primal had taken over, not just the instinct to protect but the desperate need to keep me his. His lips found mine again, fierce and consuming, and I realized the danger was not behind us, it was here, in the fire between us, unstoppable, undeniable. His kiss stole the breath from my lungs, fierce and relentless, his hand tightening at my waist as if to fuse me to him, the roughness of his palm against my body clashing with the tenderness in the way he tilted my face to deepen the kiss. The forest spun around us, shadows and light tangling like our hearts. He pulled back only enough to look at me, his eyes wild, burning, his voice low and ragged as he confessed he hadn't planned this, hadn't wanted to cross that line, but the moment he saw fear in my eyes he knew he could never let anyone or anything take me away. My chest rose and fell in a shudder, my voice barely a whisper when I told him I didn't want him to stop, and that single truth shattered the last restraint between us. His jaw tightened at my words, as though he had been holding back a storm that finally broke free. His arms closed around me with raw strength, lifting me just enough that my toes barely touched the ground. My gasp was swallowed by his kiss, deeper, hotter. His body pressed against mine so firmly I could feel every line of him. The bark of the tree dug into my back but even. His hand slid up my spine, fingers splaying as if to claim every part of me. His breath came rough, unsteady, against my lips as he murmured that I had no idea what he felt, how close he had been to losing me, and now he wouldn't let me go. My answer was only to cling tighter, my heart hammering as though it belonged to him already. His words sank into me like fire, and I could feel his heartbeat pounding as wildly as mine, his forehead pressed to mine, his breath hot and uneven, his hands framing my face as though I might vanish if he let go. His voice broke into a whisper, rough and desperate, saying he'd lived his life alone in the wilderness, trusting no one, needing nothing, until the moment he saw me. My chest tightened, my lips trembling as I whispered his name, and before I could say more he kissed me again, slow. At first, almost reverent, then with a hunger that made my knees weaken, I clutched at his shoulders, feeling the raw strength coiled under his skin, and the truth hit me like the roar of the bear itself. What had started as fear had become something far more dangerous, a fire neither of us could put out. The forest around us faded into a blur of shadows and gold light breaking through the branches, but all I could see was him, all I could feel was the heat of his body pressed against mine, his hands sliding down my sides, strong and certain, as though he had every right to hold me this way. His kiss grew deeper, rougher, and I answered with the same hunger, clutching at his shirt as if it were the only thing keeping me standing. His voice came out hoarse between our breaths, confessing that saving me from the bear had been instinct, but what came after this was need, unstoppable and consuming. My pulse thundered in my ears as I whispered that I didn't want him to stop, that I didn't care about anything but him. And the way his arms crushed me tighter told me he had waited a lifetime to hear those words. His chest heaved against mine, every breath rough and uneven, his eyes locked on me with the same intensity as when he faced the beast, only now it wasn't rage or fear, it was hunger, fierce and unyielding. His hands roamed my back with a mix of strength and restraint, as if he was fighting himself even while pulling me closer. I felt the tremor in his grip, the storm he barely contained, and it made my own pulse race faster. I whispered that I trusted him, the words trembling on my lips, and something in his gaze shifted, softer, deeper, almost reverent. His mouth claimed mine again, slower this time, savoring, as though he needed to memorize me. My fingers tangled in his hair, his low growl vibrating against my lips. And in that moment I knew there was no going back. The hunter who had saved my life had now claimed far more than that. His body pressed me tighter against the tree, the rough bark at my back only sharpening the heat that flared between us. His hand slid up to cradle my neck, thumb stroking gently as if to soothe the very fire he himself was igniting. His breath mingled with mine, heavy and ragged, his eyes searching my face as though memorizing every line, every tremor. He whispered that he should have walked away after saving me, but now he couldn't, he wouldn't, because the thought of letting me out of his arms felt worse than any danger the forest could hold. My heart pounded so loud I thought he might hear it. My fingers clutched at his shirt, pulling him even closer, and when his lips found mine again it was no longer hesitation, no longer restraint, but a claiming kiss, fierce and unrelenting, the kind that left no doubt. I belonged to him now, as completely as he belonged to me. The world seemed to vanish into the rhythm of his heartbeat thundering against mine, his kiss deepening until I was breathless, his hand sliding from my neck down to the curve of my waist, pulling me flush against the solid strength of his body. The forest held its silence as though it knew this moment was ours alone. His breath came hot and uneven against my lips as he murmured that he had fought beasts, storms, winters that could kill a man, but nothing had ever shaken him like I did now. My throat tightened at his words, my hands gripping his shoulders as though I could anchor myself to the raw certainty in his touch. He pressed his forehead to mine, eyes burning, whispering that I was his fire in the wilderness, his reason to fight. And then his mouth claimed mine again with a hunger that left me trembling, consumed entirely by him. His words wrapped around me hotter than the flames of a fire, his body a wall of strength pressing me deeper into the tree, his hands roaming my back with a rough tenderness that made every nerve ignite. His lips moved over mine with a need that felt endless, consuming. His breath ragged as though he had run miles, yet his hold on me never faltered. He broke the kiss only to trail his mouth along my jaw, down to the hollow of my throat, each touch making me shiver against him. His voice came low, raw, confessing that he hadn't just saved me from the bear, he had claimed me the moment our eyes met in fear and fire. I gasped his name, clutching at him with trembling fingers, and his growl rumbled through his chest, a promise as fierce as the wilderness itself, that he would never let me go. His growl vibrated against my skin, each word sinking deeper than the sharpest claw of the beast he had slain. His hand slid to my hip, anchoring me in place as though the earth itself might try to pull me away. His lips traced fire along my throat before finding mine again, slower now, deliberate, every kiss a claim, every breath a vow. The forest swayed around us, branches whispering in the wind, but all I felt was the storm inside him pouring into me. He whispered hoarsely that fate had thrown me into his path, that no force, be it beast, night, or man, would take me from him now. My fingers tangled in his hair, pulling him closer, surrendering to the wild heat between us, and in that moment I knew with absolute certainty, I had not just been saved, I had been captured by something far more dangerous, him. His arms wrapped tighter around me, lifting me as if I weighed nothing, my back pressed against the rough bark while his mouth claimed mine with a hunger that stole every breath. His body radiated heat, the scent of pine and smoke clinging to him, overwhelming me. His hand splayed against my side, steady and unyielding, as though he feared I might slip away. His voice broke against my lips, low and ragged, confessing that I was already his, that no wilderness could hide me from him now. My heart hammered, my hands clutching his shoulders, feeling the raw power coiled beneath his skin. He kissed me again, fiercer, deeper, until the forest itself seemed to fade, leaving only us, bound in a fire that nothing, not even the shadows of danger, could extinguish. His breath came in hot, uneven waves as his lips moved against mine, every kiss rough and desperate, yet laced with a tenderness that made my chest ache. His hands gripped me as though I was the only real thing in this vast, wild forest, his thumb tracing my cheek while his other hand held me firm at the waist. The strength in his touch contrasted with the way his voice broke when he whispered my name, raw and unsteady. I clung tighter to him, my fingers curled in the fabric of his shirt, needing him closer, needing him like air. His forehead pressed to mine as he growled that saving me wasn't enough. He had to keep me, protect me, never let me out of his sight. The wildness in his eyes told me he meant every word. And when he kissed me again, it was not just passion but a vow, fierce and unshakable. His vow wrapped around me stronger than the forest itself, his lips crashing back onto mine with a heat that burned away the last of my fear, his body pressing me tighter into the tree as though he was forging me into his own. His breath was rough, ragged, every exhale trembling with the same fire that raged in my chest. His hand slid higher along my back, fingers tangling in my hair, holding me still while his kiss deepened until the world spun. He tore his mouth from mine only to murmur against my skin, voice hoarse, that I had awoken something in him that no hunt, no wilderness, no battle could ever quiet. My pulse thundered as my hands gripped his shoulders, and I whispered that I didn't want him to quiet it. I wanted the fire, all of it. His answering growl shook through me as his arms closed tighter, sealing me against him as though I already belonged entirely to the hunter who had saved me. His growls still echoed against my lips as he kissed me again, slower this time, deeper, like a man savoring what he had fought his whole life to find. His hand slid from my hair down the curve of my spine, each touch sending shivers through me. His chest pressed to mine so firmly I could feel the rapid thrum of his heartbeat, wild and unrestrained. He broke the kiss just long enough to breathe my name, the sound low and reverent, before capturing my mouth again with a hunger that left me Trembling, the forest whispered around us, but it felt miles away. There was only him, his strength, his heat, his vow unspoken yet undeniable, that I was his, as surely as he was mine. His breath seared my skin as his lips trailed from my mouth to my jaw, down to the hollow of my throat, every movement deliberate, claiming, his hand firm at my hip, pulling me closer until no space remained between us. His chest heaving with the same fire that coursed through me, his voice broke rough against my skin, confessing that he had spent his life alone in the wild, fighting, surviving. But the moment he saw me, he knew he couldn't walk away. I gasped, clutching his shoulders as if they were the only solid ground left, my pulse racing faster than the pounding of the distant river. His mouth found mine again, hotter, fiercer, his kiss a storm and a promise all at once, and in that moment I knew there was no wilderness, no danger, no force that could tear me from the hunter who had saved me. His kiss consumed me, rough and endless, his hands moving with a certainty that made my whole body tremble, one holding me firm at the waist, the other cupping my face as though I was something too precious to lose. His breath was ragged, mingling with mine, every word a growl against my lips as he swore I was his now, that nothing in this forest, or beyond it, could change that. The heat of his body pressed me deeper into the tree, the solid bark biting at my back while his strength surrounded me, caging me, claiming me, and yet I didn't want escape. I wanted more, my fingers tangled in his hair, pulling him closer still, and the wild hunger in his eyes told me he would never let me go, not after this, not after I had become the fire in the heart of the hunter. His eyes burned into mine, wild and untamed, the same fire I had seen when he faced the beast now turned fully on me. His chest rose and fell against mine, each breath hot and uneven as though he was battling something even greater than a bear, his own restraint. His hand slid from my waist up my side, strong fingers tracing every line as if committing me to memory, his other hand tangled in my hair, tilting my face to deepen the kiss until I was trembling, breathless. He pulled back only for a moment, his lips brushing my ear as he whispered hoarsely that the forest could take everything from him, his strength, his freedom, his life, but it would never take me. The vow in his voice sent shivers through me, and before I could answer his mouth was on mine again, fiercer, hungrier, leaving no doubt that I was his, claimed as surely as the wild itself belonged to him. His vow still echoed in my ears as his lips crashed onto mine again, deeper, hotter, the raw need in him pouring into me with every breath. His body pressed me harder into the tree, his strength surrounding me, unyielding. His hand slid down my back, pulling me closer until I felt every line of him, his chest heaving against mine, his heartbeat pounding like a drum through the silence of the forest. I gasped into his kiss, clutching his shoulders, and he growled low in his throat, the sound rough and primal. He pulled back just enough to look at me, his eyes blazing, his voice breaking as he said I was his now, his to protect, his to hold, his to never let go. Then he kissed me again, and the fire between us burned so fiercely I knew nothing, not the forest, not the shadows, not even time itself, could put it out. His words struck deeper than the echo of the gunshot that had saved me. And when his mouth claimed mine again, it was no longer hesitation but pure fire, rough and consuming. His hand gripped the side of my face, tilting me into him, while the other pressed firm at my lower back, crushing me against the solid wall of his body. The heat of him poured into me until I felt I might burn alive. His breath broke between kisses, hoarse, uneven, as he muttered that I had no idea how close he'd been to losing control from the very first moment. My nails dug into his shoulders through the fabric of his shirt, desperate to hold on, and his low growl rumbled deep in his chest, vibrating through me. He pulled back only enough for his forehead to rest against mine, eyes blazing as he whispered that the bear wasn't the real danger in these woods, he was His whisper sent a shiver down my spine, darker and hotter than the shadow of the beast ever could. His hands tightened on me, one sliding to my hip, the other tangled in my hair, holding me exactly where he wanted me. His lips brushed mine again, slow, deliberate, before crashing down harder, hungrier, each kiss stealing the air from my lungs. His body pressed me into the rough bark as if he was carving me into his world. His breath came ragged, his voice breaking between kisses as he growled that I belonged to him now, that nothing in this forest would ever touch me again. My pulse thundered, my fingers gripping his neck, pulling him closer until there was no space left, only fire, raw and unyielding. And in that moment I knew he was right. The danger was real, but it was him, and I didn't want to be saved from it. His growl still vibrated against my lips as he kissed me harder, deeper, until the world blurred into heat and breath and the relentless strength of his arms around me. His hand slid down my thigh, gripping firmly as if to claim every part of me. The bark of the tree bit into my back, but even his chest pressed so tight against mine I could feel the wild rhythm of his heartbeat hammering in unison with my own. He pulled back just enough to stare into my eyes, his gaze fierce, raw, unrestrained, his voice rough as he said I was his fire now, his reason to fight, his reason to live. My breath trembled as I whispered that I didn't want to escape, not from him, not from this. His lips crashed onto mine again with a hunger that left no doubt. The hunter had saved me from the beast, but now he was devouring me whole. His mouth moved over mine with a force that stole every thought, every ounce of breath, his hand at my thigh sliding higher, pulling me tighter against him until there was no space, no air, only heat. His other hand tangled deeper in my hair, holding me as though he feared the forest itself might tear me away. His chest heaved, every inhale a growl, every exhale a vow. His lips left mine only to trail fire along my cheek, my jaw, my throat, and I shuddered against the tree, my fingers digging into his back, desperate. His voice came hoarse against my skin, saying I had unleashed something in him no beast could match, that I was his now, claimed as fiercely as the wild he ruled. And when his mouth found mine again, rough and unrelenting, I surrendered fully, knowing I no longer belonged to myself, I belonged to the hunter. His words burned hotter than his breath against my skin, and when his lips found mine again, the kiss was no longer a question but a command, raw and consuming. His hand slid firmly around my waist, lifting me against him with effortless strength. My back pressed into the bark as if the forest itself was holding me for him. His chest pounded against mine, each heartbeat wild and unrestrained. His mouth moved from my lips to my neck, each graze of stubble sending shivers through me. I clutched at his shoulders, nails digging into him as if he were the only anchor in this storm. His growl rumbled low, primal, as he swore that no beast, no man, no force alive would ever take me from him. His eyes caught mine again, fierce and blazing. And in that moment I knew, the real danger had never been the bear, it was the fire this hunter had set inside me, and I wanted it to consume me whole. His eyes locked on mine, burning with the same wild fire as the forest itself. His breath came rough against my lips, his grip unyielding at my waist as though he was afraid I might slip away if he loosened it even for a second. His mouth crushed mine again, deeper, hungrier. His tongue claiming me with the same ferocity he had faced the beast, the tree at my back, his body at my front. I was trapped and yet I didn't want release. My hand slid into his hair, pulling him closer, desperate for more of the heat pouring off him. He broke the kiss just long enough to growl hoarsely that he had saved me once, but now he would keep me, always. His lips brushed mine again before stealing them fully, and in that searing union I realized the truth. There would be no going back. I was his, as surely as the wild belonged to the hunter. His vow struck through me like lightning, leaving my whole body trembling as his mouth claimed mine again with raw, unrestrained hunger. His hand slid higher along my side, firm and possessive, pulling me flush against the hard wall of his chest, every breath between us hot, uneven, mingling in the silence of the forest that now seemed to breathe with us. His lips left mine only to trail fire down my neck, his stubble scraping, rough and intoxicating, each graze pulling a shiver from deep inside me. My fingers tangled tighter in his hair, desperate to keep him there. His voice broke low against my skin, swearing he had lived his life mastering the wild, but nothing had ever mastered him. Until the words sank into me deeper than his kiss, and when his mouth returned to mine, fierce and consuming, I knew the hunter had not just saved me, he had claimed me entirely. His kiss slowed, heavy and lingering, as if he wanted to burn every second of this moment into memory. His arms held me so tightly it felt like the whole forest could vanish, and he still would not let me go, his forehead pressed to mine, breath hot and uneven, his voice low and rough but certain, "You're mine now." I closed my eyes, feeling my heart beat in unison with his, and I knew the danger was behind us, but the fire he had ignited in me would never fade.